Well, joining us now in the studios to give his thoughts on this lingering debate is the public affairs analyst Ayodele Adewale. Thanks a lot for joining us at this time. Well, the federal government insists that this new price regime is inevitable, but that still, it still takes a lot to convince many. What's your take now as to this whole debate?
Well, my take is looking at the social reality on ground and looking at the state of the economy of Nigeria and how robust our reserves are. As it is now, we cannot continue to bog down other strata of development because of one commodity. Quite frankly, that commodity ties everybody together because of the inavailability of energy supply that tends to, help develop all functions of the economy, particularly the SMEs, as the case will be. But again, listening to what the Minister for State for Petroleum has said, that it takes about 16 billion plus to subsidize PMS. If you put that money in the energy sector, put it in the educational sector, make education free from kindergarten down to the university level, we will be building human capacity, you understand, and human resource. If you put it into infrastructure, our roads and all of that, that commodity called PMS at a point will become nullity because the dependency on it is too astronomical. Everybody hold on to PMS. But we've forgotten that if we have all around, you understand, the only reason we will need PMS is only to fuel our cars because you have buses on the road, you have trains on the road, you have trams on the road, and you have so many things.
That's in the long term.
Pending when the federal government makes all of those investments, don't forget that Nigerians have to cope with income tax, they have to cope with road tax, they have to cope with value-added tax. How far-reaching will this 500 billion naira worth of special intervention, which is going to reach just 8 million Nigerians out of nearly 200 million Nigerians?
Well, if I may advise, I would advise that government put in a lot of buffer, particularly for the less privileged. You've talked about tax and all of these things. If I am to advise them, we'll give them a lot of incentives. For instance, the tax deduction from the lower earnings and all of that can go on holiday. You can tax more on the well-privileged Nigerians. You can provide more for transportation for our people. You can, for now, cancel all fees in the higher institutions and all the institutions that will take money out of the Nigerian people, particularly at the lower echelon. You can't put more money into our public health sector, particularly the primary healthcare system. These are things that will keep more money in the pocket of Nigerians. But if you want us to continue to put more money in some few privileged ones, at the detriment of the larger majority.
But why has the federal government not considered these points that you have raised before going ahead?
No, they have done that. They have done that. I think what
introduce a new price regime.
What slowed it down is the approval of the budget. If you look at what they reeled out to us, funds going for feeding of children, funds going for less privileged Nigerians, which they have gotten data of, funds going into the health sector, and all of these things can help smoothing the problem, the hardship that will be impacted on the less privileged Nigerians.
All right.
I am also affected.
All right, okay. Now that the federal government has, of course, initiated talks with Labour, to what end does it, stand to gain, and at how much when you look at the fact that there are actually two factions of the NLC?
I'll take you back to 2000, when the fuel was increased. Then I was the public relations officer of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS. The present governor of Edo State was the NLC president. And our argument was this: you want to increase the pump price of fuel, you want to do this, you want to do that. We put our condition forward. But what we lacked then was trust. We did not trust the administration. At a point, we shifted ground. But NANS remained on his own focal point that we do not need to shift ground, and we were justified because the administration was so callous and careless about the spending and how to control the economy. But in relation to this present administration, you have a president that is willing, that is very prudent, and is very accountable and honest. Those are two different variables. We will just appeal to the Nigerian people. Let's trust this government.
All right.
Let Labour also put conditions
that the Nigerian people heeds your call to trust this government. We want to thank you very much. We have been talking with Ayodele Adewale, and he has been speaking to us about the fuel subsidy, the new pricing regime for petroleum products.